Hello, everybody. Today we're reacting. Well, no, we're debunking a YouTuber with the name of Zeta. Um, because he has this video titled "Why Metal Sonic Cannot Defeat Perfect Cell." Or in other words, he's debunking Death Battle's take because Metal Sonic beat Cell. So I can't wait to see what BS reason he provides for this video.
Death Battle just dropped Perfect Cell vs. Metal Sonic, and needless to say, this was very expected for Dragon Ball to lose because that's the most common trope that Death Battle loves to appeal to, having Dragon Ball characters losing. A little while ago, I predicted that this Death Battle would suck because they never give us the respect we deserve as Dragon Ball fans when we actually present facts and evidence.
I mean, they gave you okay. Never mind. Because I was gonna say that giving them the respect of Cell being faster than Metal Sonic, but never mind. But honestly, they respected Cell more than Metal Sonic. They said Cell is faster than Metal Sonic. Like genuinely, whose idea was that?
However, one position that Death Battle did get correct was that Cell was faster than Metal Sonic, but
like, bro, what did I say? I already knew he was gonna say this, bro.
Not for the right reasons. So for this video,
yes, and you're saying Metal Sonic can't beat Perfect Cell for the wrong reasons. Also, I can already tell you're gonna provide some BS reason.
One, it's to prove that Death Battle was wrong and that Metal Sonic has no win conditions to beat Cell, and
actually, he has every win condition to beat Cell.
Give clarity to my previous video because a lot of the people in the comments did not understand any of my arguments whatsoever. And to those people, if you disagree with my takes on Dragon Ball or just any take regarding power scaling, please come debate me. I've already said multiple times.
Yeah, I'll debate you in your Discord, but I'm only making this video because I need content on my channel. So yeah. And also because this video really pissed me off, and I think I just need to say something about it.
That my Discord server is in my bio. I am not reading your comments. Just go debate me directly if you disagree. You're just wasting your time and not getting a single response. For this video,
I actually don't want a response, to be honest. I'm not looking for your reaction, actually. I'm just doing this because, like, I'm getting pissed off. I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing this for you.
Collabing with my boy Trick, as it's a pleasure to have him on the channel. We'll be in charge of dividing this video into two sections, one of them being the Cell scale and the other one being refuting every single Metal Sonic win con to ever exist.
Yep, of course. He spends one section glazing Cell. He spends one section glazing Cell, and then he spends the other explaining how powerful Cell is. We're not going to go over how powerful Metal Sonic is. We're just going to be talking about why Cell wins because he's my favorite, huh? Alright, you know what? I'm just gonna skip to the part where he starts glazing Cell. Because I'm gonna just skip to the part where he starts glazing Cell.
Outer Versal in terms of attack power and MFTL plus.
Yep, I already knew he was gonna do this, bro. I know I skipped it, but I already knew he was gonna say Cell was Outer Versal. Plus, he has to use a composite version of Cell. He's using Dragon Ball GT, which is confirmed to not even be canon. So, genuinely, Zeta, what are we doing right now?
To irrelevant speed. Now, how does Metal Sonic hold up against this? Well, yeah, it's not fair. He does.
Yeah, it's not really fair. Cell doesn't really. How do I say this? He's as simple as possible. He's no match for Metal Sonic. No, that's too far. He's Metal Sonic's son? I don't know. See, I'm trying to put this in a non-disrespectful way. I'm gonna be honest. Cell would get no dick by Metal Sonic, bro. Metal Sonic would destroy him.
Now let's dive in.
And before any of you guys starts saying I'm just some Sonic fanboy, Metal Sonic fanboy, because of my profile picture, that's not why. I've literally listened to these two scaling before. And yeah, Metal Sonic would absolutely destroy Cell in a fight. Perfect Cell is nothing compared to Neo Metal Sonic. Keep in mind, he's comparing base Metal Sonic to Cell's strongest form, and he would still lose. Cell would still lose. Like, yo.
counter argument that we can provide against every single Metal Sonic argument in his favor. The main argument is that Metal Sonic can just copy Cell's DNA.
Yes, he can actually, because he can copy organic DNA and biodata.
Or his biodata, and he would win via this ability.
Yes, that's actually exactly the truth.
This argument doesn't logically follow because
yep, I already know he's gonna provide some BS reason for this because he's claiming that, following reasons, this does not follow. Like, yo, oh my gosh. So, let me just hear what this dude's gotta say.
Metal Sonic is not a living being, and to even
oh my gosh, here we go. I already knew he was gonna do this stuff. Metal Sonic's not a living being! Like, oh my gosh. Okay. So, while he may not be an organic living being, that doesn't mean he won't be able to copy Cell's biodata. He can copy Sonic, SBO, and Tails' abilities. Like when he copied Tails' ability to fly, or copied SBO's ability to turn invisible. Like, yo, genuinely, he can copy organic abilities.
In the first place, you must be a living organism. And you also must be able to copy a spiritual metaphysical energy on top of this requirement. Now, let's go over Metal Sonic.
He can copy physical energy because he's able to copy the abilities of the Chaos Force. Yes, I'm calling it that. I'm pretty sure it is what that is called. So, yeah, I am calling it the Chaos Force. But anyway, that's not what I'm important right now. But back to what I was saying. He's able to copy the Chaos Force, which is physically able to be used. Shadow can use the Chaos Force to travel through time with the Chaos Emeralds and teleport, along with use Chaos Spears. So it's not far-fetched to say at all that it's not far-fetched to say that Metal Sonic couldn't copy Cell's biodata and copy the Z Fighter's abilities.
Sonic's actual copying ability and what it is. What Metal Sonic does is that he copies one's biodata, which is essentially one's biology, and he does it in the way of mimicking abilities. For example, a chameleon can camouflage, so if I'm Metal Sonic, that means that
See, bro, and now you're trying to piss Sonic fans off, because SBO just so happens to be a chameleon, and he can camouflage, and of course, you gotta bring it up. But my point is, what is your point here? Oh, my point, well, that sounded weird, but my point is, like, what is your point here? Because if he can copy Cell's abilities, he's copying his data. Like, genuinely, what are we talking about anymore, Zeta? We're trying to make up any way to defend Cell now, are we? Even ways that don't even make sense. It's just, you're basically, by your own logic, Metal Sonic can just copy all of Cell's abilities and copy his strength as well.
I have the ability to camouflage using this ability. However, we must understand that there is a distinction between biological abilities and actual biology. Metal Sonic cannot literally copy your biology one-to-one, especially when we consider that he's an artificial robot.
Oh my gosh, here we go with this artificial robot Glaze stuff. And then he proceeds to show him transforming into the Metal Overlord. It's confirmed that he took the biodata of all the characters in Sonic Heroes and formed into the Metal Overlord. He copied their biological data to turn into the Metal Overlord.
So he's not a living being, meaning he cannot literally have biology. It's the same way.
Okay, so
can fly.
Keep in mind that he showed something that entirely contradicts this.
Just like birds can, but it's not an actual living being, it's just a vehicle. It is basically just copying abilities that are intrinsic to one's biology, but not the biology itself.
But even if this was the case, then why would this work in Cell's favor at all? Because you really think Metal Sonic would even need to copy Cell's biodata to win? He could just beat him out of his sheer power. Cell has barely done any. Cell has to get Highball to even get to Multiversal, I'm pretty sure. So, and he has to use other characters scaling. Meanwhile, Metal Sonic can get to Outer Versal. So, I don't really know what we're doing. Like, why are we saying Cell would destroy Metal Sonic in a fight?
Even if Metal Sonic could copy Ki, it wouldn't.
Yeah, because he can copy Ki. Because he technically already has access to Ki on a daily basis. While it's not exactly like Ki, the Chaos Force is similar to Ki in many ways because its power comes from the heart, just like Ki, and it comes from the user who's using it. Wait, no, wait, whoa, wait. Sorry about that. But like I was saying, it comes from the heart, just like Ki does. It allows you to teleport and shoot energy blasts, just like Ki does. It allows you to power yourself up and make yourself stronger, just like Ki does. It does so much stuff like Ki. It's not far-fetched to say Metal Sonic could copy Ki, because he basically has abilities very similar to Ki, so he could easily copy the Kamehameha.
Be the same quality as Cell's Ki, you would need to prove that. And if it was identical to Cell's Ki, this is literally a win-con for Cell, because in Dragon Ball, if you do not train yourself to handle a specific quality of Ki, you will literally explode, which is exactly what happened when Moro tried to copy Ultra Instinct. He quite literally could not contain this Ki. People will try.
Okay, so we're saying Metal Sonic is going to explode from absorbing Cell's energy. Cell is not the most powerful Dragon Ball Z character. He's weaker than Frieza. And Frieza's not even the strongest Dragon Ball Z character. So I don't really understand why we're using scaling from Cell's verse. Well, I'm not gonna say that, but I don't really understand what this guy has to do with Metal Sonic, because even though that may have happened to him, power works differently in the Sonic universe, so it likely won't be the same case here.
Argue that Metal Sonic can copy Ki because he can copy abilities that require Chaos Energy, but this argument sucks because it presupposes that Ki is the equivalent of Chaos Energy. And no, I'm not allowing verse equalization. Literally anyone can just deny verse equalization and this argument wouldn't even follow. By the way, this argument is literally self-defeating, because if Metal Sonic can utilize Chaos Energy, it means that Chaos Energy does not necessarily require you to be a living being, which makes—
Oh my gosh, bro. Oh my gosh. So, in the exact same video, or the exact same topic, he explicitly says Metal Sonic is designed to be able to use Chaos Energy. What are we talking about anymore, bro? Okay. It's never explicitly said that you have to be a living being in order to use Chaos Energy. But you gotta keep in mind, Metal Sonic's not like any regular robot. He has subconsciousness and he has feelings. He has consciousness and he's like a human. I mean, not human. He's like an actual Mobian. He just is mechanical. But he has many properties very similar to Sonic. Honestly, he's just Sonic but a robot, which is like feels so anticlimactic to say. Whoa. Yeah. It feels so anticlimactic to say.
it distinct from Ki. It could also mean that Chaos Energy is
Chaos Energy is distinct from Ki, but it's so similar in many ways. It's not far-fetched to say he could definitely copy Ki.
Intrinsically linked to biology as well. And speaking of, Ki is not intrinsically linked to biology. It is a spiritual energy distinct from the body to amplify one's physical strength and other stats.
Let's act like that's totally not exactly what I just said. And I wonder how Sonic goes super with the 7 Chaos Emeralds. Like, oh my gosh, this guy, bro.
I've also seen people try to justify the androids being able to use quote-unquote Ki, so therefore Metal Sonic could use Ki, or some sort of Ki-like thing. But no, because this presupposes that the androids and Metal Sonic function under the same artificial mechanics, which they need to justify. Unlike Metal Sonic, it's already verified by the series that the androids have an energy type that is literally akin to Ki 1-to-1. We can't just baselessly assume that Metal Sonic can do the exact same thing just because the androids can. You actually need to justify that intrinsic to Sonic's franchise and not to Dragon Ball. Because one doesn't justify the other. So I think I've made myself pretty clear throughout this video that Metal Sonic cannot copy Perfect Cell. So now...
Whoa. Shut up, chicken! Oh. Okay, that wasn't supposed to happen. But, anyway. Yeah, let's get back to the video. It's just a little something that happened. No, it's just personal stuff. Don't worry about it, guys.
Now let's get into the other scaling that people want to argue for Metal Sonic and why it fails. People try to argue that Metal is above Solaris and Solaris.
Actually, that's not far-fetched because Solaris is inferior to Sonic the Hedgehog, and even in the IDW comics, which is essentially just Game Sonic, he was able to beat up a Sonic similar in strength to how he was in Frontiers. So it's actually not far-fetched to say that he's stronger than Solaris.
Solaris is a superdimensional being, so therefore Metal Sonic has superdimensional power. Superdimensional power is higher dimensional, so therefore Metal Sonic would be somewhere around the lines of these multiversal, low complex multiversal ranges of power. But this argument fails because it severely ignores context. Solaris is a superdimensional being, yes. However, Sonic does not scale to the superdimensional essence of Solaris. This is because the story contextualizes.
Bro, here we go with Death Battle again. You're saying because Sonic doesn't have the exact same essence, he has no way to scale to Solaris. Like, oh my gosh, this stuff pisses me off so much. Sonic defeated Solaris' celestial form, too. And he was able to erase him from existence. Oh, actually. Well, yeah, he was able to erase him from existence. Sure, he had help, but he still erased Solaris from existence. And even if you don't believe that from Solaris, or whatever BS this guy tries to come up with, you can't deny that he scales to the Time Eater. Because the Time Eater is literally the Time Eater. He was eating away at the entire Sonic timeline. And he created white space, which is stated to be ninth dimensional. Or is ninth dimensional and this chart shows it right here. And Sonic is able, he also scales to Sonic for obvious reasons. He can get up to 11th to 12th dimensional, which is hyperversal.
Is that Solaris had been dimensionally anchored or maintained, meaning he's not actually superdimensional, but rather that his existence is now maintained or limited to 3D reality. We know this is talking about dimensionality because a higher dimensional being cannot exist or operate within a lower dimensional 3D reality, because they are infinitely more complex spatially with higher degrees of freedom than that said reality, making them inaccessible. And the place Solaris and Sonic are fighting is a 3-dimensional reality because it's basically just a time-space nexus of the universe. So now that we know that Sonic wasn't even fighting the 5D or 4D Solaris, we also need to understand that he doesn't even scale to the anchored version of Solaris. This is because it's contextualized within the story that Super Sonic cannot take on Solaris on his own, and that physical attacks can...
Yeah, you're using one broad statement considering that he's able to do the most damage out of all the other characters. Now, you could argue this is just a gameplay mechanic, and it likely is probably just a gameplay mechanic and not trying to say anything about the character's strength, but I still think it's worth mentioning when talking about Sonic versus Solaris. And he even debunked the Gaming Risk video about why Sonic would beat Solaris in a fight and destroy him. And he didn't believe that, but he needs to really pay attention if he wants to know why Solaris would not beat Sonic in a fight. Because he stated multiple times to banish the flame and be the light or some riddle type of stuff like that. But that's symbolizing that he was the one who was supposed to take it down Solaris. And they were able to erase him from existence, like I said before, and take out his physical form and celestial form. And even when he was buffed by the Phoenix form, it stated that he was getting desperate. And he had to go all out. And even then, they still beat him. And it stated that each individual Super Hedgehog scales to Solaris.
On him. So yes, this clearly verifies that Sonic does not even scale to this version of Solaris. I've then seen people try to say that Infinite is stronger than Solaris because of this famous statement right here, but this argument is so bad because this could literally just be dismissed.
Yep, anything that can help Metal Sonic just gets dismissed, huh? Because this video is basically Cell. Let me tell you how powerful Cell is, and then I'm just going to dismiss every reason for why Metal Sonic is powerful.
As promotional marketing hype for Sonic Forces and not to actually reflect a fact about the narrative. It could...
Okay, well that's funny considering Infinite kicked Sonic's ass in their first fight.
Literally just be promotional exaggeration, which is something that advertising...
keep in mind, this Sonic was much stronger than the one in Generations or in Sonic 06, who is stated to be equal to Solaris. Well, not necessarily. Well, yeah, I think it's safe to say he's stated to be superior to maybe equal. Because if he alone can, if each individual Super Hedgehog can scale to his strongest form, it's safe to say that Solaris is probably inferior to Supersonic, or at least equal at this time, but likely inferior.
Are known to do. So Sonic fans, please stop using this garbage promotional argument. This even happens in Dragon Ball 2. There's even promotional statements of Goku and Gohan being the strongest father-son duo, despite the fact that the Grand Priest and Whis exist. The next argument to scale Metal Sonic high is by trying to argue that Metal Sonic scales to the Arabian Nights, which have
He actually does, believe it or not.
A bunch of universes or thousands of universes. But this claim is not backed up anywhere. In fact, it's the exact opposite, because the Arabian Nights is just one world split into multiple and can be perceived from one another, meaning that these are not separate space-times, and these are most certainly not infinite. So no, the Arabian Nights scaling is not anywhere near multiversal. I've also
that's kind of personal preference. Some people believe it's multiversal. I honestly don't think it's multiversal. But I'm gonna be honest, I personally don't think that it's multiversal. But even then, that should stay to stand that he's able to go against a Sonic who's able to beat up. He's able to beat up Pete Casual. He's able to beat up Universal characters at 50% power. Keep in mind, he's way weaker than he is now.
seen people try to back up that these are multiple universes because they have multiple stories, or that.
And also, Sonic was able to run in a palace that's stated to be infinite in size and have no concept of time or space. So he basically just broke the laws of physics with his speed alone. This should already create immeasurable speed by the events of Secret Rings. Meaning that generating and fixing white space is, not generating. In Sonic Generations, fixing white space was honestly nothing for the Blue Hedgehog, meaning that he should have inaccessible speed. And Metal Sonic is able to bully a faster version of Sonic, so it's not too far-fetched to say he's likely superior to this version of Sonic at this point in time. And by this version, I mean the version when Sonic Frontiers first came out.
That they function off of different physics. But this doesn't logically follow, because even our own world has plenty of non-fiction stories that isn't.
Alright, listen up. Sonic is a fictional universe. Superdimensional beings exist. And hedgehogs with super speed also exist. So taking inspiration from our real world isn't really gonna help you here.
Those stories operate under different space-times. This argument is so stupid. And the physics point also doesn't help their case, because there are many planets contained within the universe that operate under different physics. For example, there is a difference between Earth and Jupiter's gravity being much different from each other. And both of these planets exist within the same space-time continuum. So no, distinction in physics does not equal spatio-temporal distinction. People try to argue that Metal Sonic scales to infinite, and infinite
Yes, he does.
null space, and the null space is a
Yes, he did.
place that is stated to be separate from every dimension. This would be inclusive of spatial dimensionality, so therefore Metal Sonic is outerversal. This argument doesn't logically follow, because it's pre-assuming the word dimension is directly tied to spatial dimensionality, or every and all examples of something that can be accounted as a dimension.
Alright, here we go. Let's just make this quick. So, long story short, he just explained, yes, this would make Metal Sonic outerversal, because if no space exists entirely if it exists out of the Sonic, if it's stated to exist out of the Sonic cosmology, just like the Speed Force from the DC universe, it's stated to exist outside of the DC cosmology. That's the literal definition of outerversal. So if he's stronger than Infinite, that he created that, he should be outerversal, believe it or not.
Just mean that it's separate from every single universe or every single timeline. It does not have to be an index to spatial dimensionality. People try to prove the context, dismiss semantical ambiguity, and attacks nothing. Speaking of, is equivalent to an outerversal transcendence, because it translates to transcend dimensions, and to be outerversal, you must transcend dimensions. Aside from the wild amount of assumptions for the words transcend and dimensions, the statement doesn't even prove this in any form, because even something fifth dimensional can transcend a set of dimensions, but something fifth dimensional is not outerversal. But anyways, back to abusing their logic, we can apply this to Dragon Ball, because Garlic Jr.'s dead zone is stated to be a super space, as it uses the kanji Chokukan, and for their logic, Cho means to transcend, so it's literally transcending space, and transcending space is necessary for outerversal, so therefore, Garlic Jr. is outerversal, and Perfect Cell is stronger than Garlic Jr. You see how sucky this argument is? Yeah, don't use this. People try to argue that Time Eater scales to this place called white space, and Metal Sonic is stronger than Time Eater, so
Oh, so him entirely creating a ninth dimensional construct, totally, he does not scale to it in any way. Like, shut up, bro. Just stop talking, Zeta. You're pissing me off. And if he's not stronger than Time Eater, then tell me why he's able to bully a stronger version of Sonic, who, in a weaker version of his super form, was able to beat the Time Eater with a younger version of himself.
therefore Metal Sonic is outerversal because white space lacks spatial and temporal dimensions. This is not true for many reasons. Shadow directly states that he could use Chaos Control, and to use Chaos Control means that you can stop time, and if there was no time, there would be nothing to stop, but there is something to stop if Chaos Control is available. It's
Oh my gosh. Okay, first off, stopping time isn't. We never really see Sonic Shadow stop time with Chaos Control in canon. We know he can manipulate time with the Chaos Emeralds, but this isn't his primary focus. He mainly only uses Chaos Control to teleport. So you just assuming that he's stopping time is not very it's not very smart. You're just automatically assuming he's using Chaos Control to stop time rather than what he actually uses Chaos Control for. Plus, if Shadow is not stupid, if he knows time doesn't exist in white space, he can't use Chaos Control to stop time, because time doesn't exist.
also contextualize that when the story treats the phrase no time, they're not talking about literal atemporality, but rather the complete stoppage of time, meaning time still exists. Going back to no space, people try to argue that no space is infinite because Sonic stated that it seemed to have no end, but for this argument to work, you would literally have to argue that Sonic has the ability to perceive infinity, which is never justified anywhere.
Well, I mean, he's able to perceive beings like Solaris who are super dimensional and stuff, which is not infinity, but my point is, like, he's able to perceive beings that are basically his universe. Like, he's able to perceive the End's physical avatar. Just that alone is enough. Plus, he was able to destroy the End, someone infinitely stronger than Solaris. So, yeah.
Also, something appearing to have no end does not mean it has no end. And more proof that this statement would not be reliable is that the Phantom Ruby is directly stated to be an illusion-based ability, meaning that characters who are subject to the Phantom Ruby are also subject to illusions. And almost every no-space statement comes from a character that is subject to the Phantom Ruby, which, ironically enough, provides us a strong basis to question every statement to be true. Also, the fact that the no-space is a direct byproduct of the Phantom Ruby may or may not suggest that the no-space never existed to begin with. People try to use Ian Flynn to prove that Solaris destroyed the concepts of time and space as a way to get him to outerversal, but this argument logically fails badly because Ian Flynn, by his own admission, admitted that the concept of time and space, according to his own interpretation, is fourth dimensional.
Entire concept of time as the fourth dimension.
And not only that, this also goes against other views because he views...
That's not really confirming that anything is fourth dimensional. All he said was the fourth dimension, but whatever.
Infinite as weaker than Solaris. And the End.
Infinite is not even in their league. We discussed this before, right? When you get down to Solaris is probably the most...
Here we go, bro. Now we're using this type of stuff. Now we're using Q&As. That Infinite's not even on the same tier as Solaris. This can be stated, but we gotta use our brains here. It's like, you can't just be sucking on Ian Flynn's stuff. Like, you have to think for yourself here.
Powerful, but the End's pretty high ranked up there. Second place.
People also try to use the Egg Wizard, who is stated to allegedly transcend dimensions, as a way to get him to higher dimensional in power, but transcendence doesn't necessarily have to mean a higher spatial axis. It could just be talking about crossing between dimensions or a superiority.
Yeah, but it can mean that as well.
spatial position, there are many, many ways to interpret transcending dimensions. Now that I've debunked basically a bunch of these Metal Sonic arguments,
But in other words, they can basically interpret it however they want.
let's also go into his speed scaling. People claim that Metal Sonic has immeasurable speed because of these
Yes.
really odd translations people have sent me relating to Sonic CD about his ability to travel through time. Even if I do grant that he can time travel,
I mean, considering he is able to give a Sonic from Sonic CD who can travel through time or run for his money in a race, I don't think it's too far fetched to say. And he was able to follow him through time, so I don't think it's too far fetched to say he probably can travel through time with his sheer speed.
through these translations, time traveling is not a measurable speed because it's still applicable to the speed formula. It's just distance divided by time, but you're applying time with
But also, even if that's not a measurable speed, just look at Sonic Generations, bro. Just Sonic Generations. That's all I have to say. Sonic Generations. Cause sometimes I be feeling, cause like I don't know, like it's like he's trying to sound smart here, but it's like why are we only using one thing to justify Metal Sonic speed?
negative numbers, and these can actually give you valid equations from the speed formula. And if your speed is applicable to the speed formula, then that means your speed is measurable. I've also seen people try to argue that Metal Sonic can move through stop time, so therefore Metal Sonic has infinite to immeasurable speed, but this argument also doesn't logically follow, because it can be the case that he can move through stop time as a means of a hacks ability, as opposed to something accounting for his actual speed. For example, in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Dio can stop time, and he can move within this stop time, but he is not a measurable speed. It is just a hacks ability that is granted by his stand in order to...
But that doesn't logically make sense if it's not Metal Sonic who casts the ability. So, cause he worded it as if Metal Sonic is moving in someone else's stop time.
move and stop time. We know this doesn't account for his speed because we're blatantly told that the World and Star Platinum both operate under finite measurements of speed. So given this, it does not have to be a narrative account for a measurable speed. Okay, we're finally at the end. After all of that, I think I finally managed to get rid of all of the major Metal Sonic arguments. If there's anything regarding Archie, I already covered in my Archie Sonic video. After finally engaging with every single Metal Sonic argument, I think I've made myself very clear, and Trick has made himself...
Yeah, I think I made it myself very clear too. This guy is a Cell fanboy who's glazing him, and Metal Sonic would absolutely clap Cell in a fight. And I'm gonna make a whole video breaking down why Cell has no chance against Metal Sonic.
Pretty clear that Perfect Cell would absolutely
Get destroyed by Metal Sonic. Alright, that's where I'm gonna end this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.